Imagine if I had done any of this. Let me I just want to be clear about this. Imagine if I had pulled Fox News' credentials from the White House press corps. You're laughing, but no, this is what's happening. It's unimaginable that the same parties that are silent now would have tolerated behavior like that from me, or a whole bunch of my predecessors. I say this not on a partisan basis. This has to do with something more precious, which is, who are we as a country and what values do we stand for?
There has to be a book. I'm too lazy to write it. There has to be a book on the decisions made by the head of networks to protect Biden. Why did these people do this when they knew? Why did they go after people for telling the truth, for speaking up, like what happened on CNN with Laura Trump? Why did they do that? It's crazy. You know, you see Obama and Harris out there. You know, by the way, someone should have cut off Kamala at the bar, not during her speech, because, yeah, she was loaded. Speaking from experience, that was fun. But if you notice, there's no appealing face for the Democratic Party, and here's why. All the people you see have crazy eyes. Have you noticed that?
For most of human history, and to this day in most of places in the world, there is a cost to challenging the powers that be, particularly if they're abusing that power. People tend to think, democracy, rule of law, independent judiciary, freedom of the press, that's all abstract stuff because it's not affecting the price of eggs. Well, you know what? It's about to affect the price of eggs.
There were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so.
That comes as we learn how a top Harris campaign advisor was horrified by Kamala's infamous View appearance, where she couldn't think of anything she'd do differently from Joe Biden. Well, that moment caused Stephanie Cutter to blurt out, "What the hell was that?" And another bombshell Biden book is revealing how former White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain said Biden was fatigued, befuddled, and disengaged before his debate disaster. An ex-Biden campaign staffer feels betrayed.
Ashley, do you feel lied to?
Yeah, I do. I hadn't been around the president before that debate, and I worked for Joe Biden, and if the people around him knew that he was not capable, it is unacceptable to me that they allowed him to go onto that stage. I deserve better as a voter, not even as a Democrat, as a voter and as an American. I do.
If you had eyes and ears and you paid any attention to what was going on, not to mention the fact that the president was hiding from the American people for years on end and couldn't really speak for himself, you knew exactly what was happening. You were just in denial. So now they're in the state of acceptance and they're trying to rebuild their party. It's not going well. The approval rating of the Democratic Party is at 23%. And who do we see going out and trying to talk about it? The failed Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris, doing what she's always done, going out and laughing, saying, "I told you so," as if the American people really buy that things would be better under a President Harris. Are you kidding me? Especially with the jobs report today that came out that was good for the economy. You know, Democrats really have to also get rid of Barack Obama. I know he's a former president. He was popular when he left office, but he does not have a good track record of bringing Democrats with him.
It is up to all of us to fix this. It's not going to be because somebody comes and saves you. The most important office in this democracy is the citizen, the ordinary person who says, no, that's not right. You know, it has been easy during most of our lifetimes to say you are a progressive, or say you are for social justice, or say you're for free speech, and not have to pay a price for it. And now we're at one of those moments where, you know what, it's not enough just to say you're for something. You may actually have to do something and possibly sacrifice a little bit. So, yeah, if you're a law firm being threatened, you might have to say, okay, we will lose some business because we're going to stand for a principle.
We've been talking about this. There's a brand new book. It's called Fight, and it gives a behind-the-scenes look into the 2024 election, including what former President Obama really thought about Kamala Harris, the Democrat, as the nominee. It reads, in private conversations, Obama flat out told allies she would lose to Trump. He was right. He did not think she should be the candidate and said, one confidant, he liked the idea of Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer at the top of the ticket and Maryland Governor Wes Moore at the bottom. He didn't want a coronation of Harris.
So many revelations in this book. One of them is that our own Jonathan Lemire was responsible for Joe Biden getting out of the race after asking Nancy Pelosi that question on Morning Joe. But we'll get to that in a minute. Something that really jumps out here is that Barack Obama didn't think that Joe Biden should continue, and he initially didn't think Kamala Harris should replace him.
One of the things that has distinguished us in the past has been this basic idea that we are a rules-based society. What that means is that, you know what, I can support one candidate instead of another, and I don't have to worry that the police are going to come harass me or my customers. That's what happens in other places. That's what happens in Russia. We take for granted the idea that we don't have to pay bribes or hire somebody's cousin in order to get a business permit. That's how we built the economy we did. That's why this place worked.
He says if you're a law firm being threatened, you might have to say, okay, we'll lose some business. But then he goes on, if you're a university, you may have to figure out, are we in fact doing things right? Have we violated our own values, our own code, violated the law in some fashion? If not, you're being intimidated. He goes on to say, we'll stand up for what we believe in and we'll pay our researchers for a while out of that endowment. We'll give up the extra wing or the fancy gymnasium, that we can delay that for a couple of years because of academic freedom. So he's going specifically at university students in this particular course of action. I think it might be better received than it was when he was scolding African-American men for lagging their support of Kamala Harris. So he knows his audience, and he's going for a group that he thinks he can mobilize.
Well, he is a former community organizer, so maybe he's getting back into that as the elections continue to lose for him.
For some of the leadership of the Democratic Party, the debate was an opportunity to try to move Joe Biden out, which they'd wanted to do. And just one last thing I would say. In this book, I think what Democrats are going to find, what independents are going to find, and what some Republicans are going to find is what the next election looks like, what 2028 looks like, what they need to look for in their leaders, and what they need to demand from politicians in order to get an honest assessment of what's going on. I think most voters didn't know where that race stood when the debate happened, and they were told over and over and over again that Kamala Harris was poised to win at the end. And they were shocked when that wasn't the case.
Are we willing to fight for it? Are we going to risk something for it? We say that we're for rule of law. Are we going to stick to that when it's tough, not when it's easy? We believe in freedom of speech. Do we stand up for freedom of speech when the other person talking is saying stuff that infuriates us and is wrong and hurtful? Do we still believe in it?